In 1989, Hurricane Hugo devastated the lives of many Virgin Islanders. Nearly $790 billion is set to be pumped back into the U.S. economy. While motorists have been enjoying the break from skyrocketing fuel prices, Governor DeYoung announced the appointment of 2 new positions to Golden Grove facility. Pregnant women may face a greater risk of dying from the swine flu. That has helped him rehabilitate both physically and mentally. The U.S. Customs and Border Protection here in the territory is ready to meet the challenge. Thousands of carnival goers flocked to Emancipation Garden Wednesday. Thursday morning, Daniel Castillo was sentenced to life in prison. The 5th grade student was shot in the shoulder Wednesday. And in just a few days, residents will enjoy full internet service. Tropical Depression Erica dominated the headlines this week. Hello and thanks for joining us on this edition of News 2. I'm Gina Ninemire filling in for Sandra Gumansing. The murder trial of ex-police officer Jeffrey Brown, brother-in-law Louis Melendez, and wife Marcella Brown came to a close Saturday when the jury reached a verdict after several hours of deliberation. 2 years ago, retired Army Sergeant Shane Heath lost his left arm and left leg after stepping on an improvised explosive device while serving a 3rd tour in Iraq.
We were heading back to patrol base we'd set up, and as we were walking back, I stepped on an IED.
While undergoing physical therapy at a medical center in Washington, Sergeant Heath discovered a program that has helped him rehabilitate both physically and mentally.
It gives soldiers a chance to regain their self-confidence and realize, yeah, I've suffered a life-altering injury. That doesn't change who I am. That, my injuries do not define me and what I can do.
Since February 2007, SUDS, Soldiers Undertaking Disabled Scuba, both at the Walter Reed Army Medical Center in Washington and the Bethesda Naval Hospital in Maryland, has enabled over 100 veterans wounded while serving in Afghanistan and Iraq to become scuba certified.
We run a trip every quarter, every 3 months, so we'll bring a group of 6 to 8 guys down to the Caribbean, do their checkout dives and get them certified.
It's all volunteer work, so everything we get is from private donations. And I do it because it changes my life too. It makes me appreciate everything more.
Retired Marine Sergeant Greg Edwards, who underwent 42 surgeries after losing both his legs to an IED in 2006 while serving in Iraq, says SUDS helped him begin to rebuild his life.
It's hard being in a hospital and, losing limbs because you have a lot of questions that weigh on your mind. Am I going to be able to do this? Am I going to be able to do that? Well, a program like SUDS in particular, they get you in the water and they get you scuba diving, and it builds your confidence. It tells you, yes, you can do the same things that normal people do that have all their limbs.
Gina Ninemire, News 2. If a picture can say 1,000 words, then Kenny Turbay could have a novel. A true story which began on that fateful day when Hurricane Hugo tore across the territory, devastating everything in its path. In 1989, Hurricane Hugo devastated the lives of many Virgin Islanders, including Kenny Turbay, who 20 years later is still trying to pick up the pieces after being swindled out of tens of thousands of dollars.
It took everything, the farm was gone, the house was gone, our life was thrown upside down like so much other people on the island, especially St. Croix. And then we got a loan, and then that's when everything really went bad.
Temporary relief came in the form of a $58,000 hurricane disaster loan from the Small Business Administration for the reconstruction of his house. However, Kenny says Kemco Construction, Inc., the company hired to do the work, didn't follow the original construction plans, and worse, never completed the job.
He never built a home, nothing according to plan, no rebar in a house.
Kenny has remained living at his residence without a certificate of occupancy, therefore basically squatting on his own land. He continues fighting every day to keep his head above water, meanwhile drowning in attorney fees from the legal battle and barely avoiding foreclosure.
The amount of foreclosures that we had to stop in the last 19 years came up to probably over $50,000 the first time, 15, 17, 16, 12. I just paid them another $10,000 at this new mortgage company taking over. And according to the home inspector, I still have another between $40,000 and $60,000 still to spend on the home before we get our certificate of occupancy.
According to Kenny, the contractor moved off island and has since declared bankruptcy, leaving this farmer, fisherman, and single father of 4 with a poorly half-built structure to call home.
It have been so simple. I pay you to build me a home. If me and my family had a home, but probably my wife would still be around. There's still at a amount of stress, and where we would be today, you know.
Gina Ninemire, News 2. At Government House Monday, a graduation ceremony was held for the first Emergency Communications Center team for the new E911 emergency system for the St. Thomas St. John Water Island District. After 2 months of intense and aggressive training, including EMS, first responder, CPR, emergency priority, and even ride-alongs with medical, fire, and police, a class of 23 female dispatchers and 1 male graduated from the Emergency Communications Center course, another major milestone in the governor's overhaul of the territory's E911 system. Hundreds united at Emancipation Gardens Saturday to take a stand against the rising tide of violence in the community. The group, comprising of people from close to 40 organizations, marched through downtown Charlotte-Amalie and finished in Frenchtown, kicking off the 22nd annual Virgin Islands Night Out. Rally organizer Flamone Lewis from the Law Enforcement Planning Commission says it was their way of saying enough is enough. The next Night Out rally is scheduled for October 10th, hosted by the Nada Bavoni community. A similar event is also planned for St. Croix. Stocks end the day with a big gain after some corporate deal-making boosted investors' hope for an economic recovery. The Dow up 124 points, closing at 97.89. The S&P 500 gained 18 points. Coming up on News 2, some federal monies are on the way to help the territory assess and clean up underground mess. Find out why.
It's disturbing.
Altair Gums was left saddened and angered Tuesday as she stood looking around at what is left of her former location of a thriving business at Cokie Point Beach, still trying to make sense of the government's plans to build a new boardwalk and vendor area.
To tell you the truth, it's not a happy thing because now I'm 300 feet away and I have to bring the guests to the beach and then walk them back up to the ramp to get them set up and stuff that they need, and it's an inconvenience to us.
Altair is like many of the vendors at Cokie who are left wondering what the future of their businesses will hold.
It's a major thing in the business because, number one, the taxi can't drop off here. They'd have to pull up down in the corner down there, or they have to go up at Coral World. So we'd have to take the tourists to Coral World property or to the private property down here. So I don't understand what they're thinking.
Vendors now face losing potential customers due to what they say is a poorly planned project by the Department of Housing, Parks, and Recreation.
We're told that we're just supposed to use a tent and at the end of the day remove the tent and keep the area clean. It's not even a shed. This morning it was raining and windy and I had to brace myself to hold my tent.
Vendors were given a week to uproot their businesses and relocate to a temporary wooden platform recently built to house the vendors for at least the next 18 months while the project is completed.
It's an insult. It's an insult to the max.
We're hoping and praying that we do survive, because it's going to be a hard, long process.
Gina Ninemire, News 2.